it's a very important initiative for the Pune system. And to be honest, for me, Pune ecosystem has been extremely kind. We started this initiative for a while, and we've got excellent support, and we have come this far. I'll talk about the UDA thing in a while. Today, this event is for discussing and presenting this initiative and this partnership between the Indo-Swiss Center of Excellence and the Maritime Research Center to take forward the underwater domain awareness framework. So I would now request Mr. Mukesh Malhotra, the chairman of the Indo-Swiss Center of Excellence and the Wakefield group, to kindly give his comments.
Good evening, everybody. Mr. President, General Shekatkar, Admiral Verma, Vandana, and all the guests present here. It is my pleasure to be here today and to be, having the privilege of signing this particular MoU between the Indo-Swiss Center of Excellence and the Maritime Research Center. I think a lot of you know about the Indo-Swiss Center of Excellence, but at the risk of a little bit of repetition, let me tell you a little bit about it. Indo-Swiss Center, there is a little brochure in your brochures in front of you. Basically, it's a non-for-profit institution that we have set up, in which the Malhotra family and the Malhotra Wakefield Foundation have been the prime movers. We have contributed about 50% of the 40 crore cost of this particular project. It's basically a center to develop three areas. One is agriculture, second is manufacturing technologies of tomorrow, and the third is what we are starting today, is the underwater domain awareness studies. In terms of agriculture, we started off with two 40-foot containers and air-conditioned them and set up a farm, and we started those while our building was in progress. But I'm very, very proud to say that we have graduated about 1,600 youngsters from villages in Maharashtra, and out of which a good 10-15% or more are girls, and who are all now placed in positions or doing things such that they are earning somewhere between 1.8 lakhs to 2.5 lakhs a year. I don't know if that makes any sense, but the average income of a farmer today with an acre and a half or two of land is about 80 to 90,000 rupees a year. So by augmenting their incomes, we are doubling the income of the family, which makes it that much more viable for them to live. And it gels very well with the Prime Minister's vision of doubling farmers' income in this country. This particular vertical, the agriculture vertical, is being run by the Syngenta Foundation, which is running these programs all over the country. In fact, they just had a function to mark 10,000, am I right, Rajan? 10,000 agricultural entrepreneurs in this country, all over this thing, out of which 1,600 come from Pune, from the Indo-Swiss Center of Excellence. As far as the manufacturing technologies, we decided that we would not go in for the technologies of yesterday, milling and lathe machining and stuff like that. We decided to focus on the technologies of tomorrow. So we are skilling our youngsters, or we propose to skill our youngsters in futuristic technologies like mechatronics, robotics, artificial intelligence, 3D printing, and so on, which will get them ready to take on the reins of manufacturing technologies of Industry 4.0, which is upon us just now. Part of this will also mean that we will be doing a lot of upskilling. A lot of workers today in factories, and this is something that I've repeatedly got from industry in Pune, is that we need upskilling. They are used to old technologies. When we get in new machines, we don't have people to run them. So that is where a lot of focus will be there to upskill people to the technologies of tomorrow. Keeping in mind the fact that skilling is a national imperative and a national critical importance, we also have been discussing with the Maritime Research Center Commander Arnab Das who has been telling us and who made us aware of how critical and important underwater domain awareness is for this country, and the fact that very little skill in that area is there in our country. For example, the river project for the Brahmaputra and other inter-regional rivers, the consultant for that is an American company. It should ideally have been an Indian company. The Indian Ocean region, which is part of our exclusive economic zone, just to give you a kind of a feel, the land mass of our country is about 3.5 million square kilometers. The exclusive economic zone is of the order of 3 million square kilometers. So almost equal to our land mass is the economic zone under the ocean, which we can exploit, entirely for our benefit, and for which we have almost close to zero skills. Also, so many other areas are impacted in terms of biotechnology, in terms of fishing and farming, etc., by underwater skills, which we need to develop, apart from the fact that strategic and security interests of the nation also call for underwater skill development. So we have taken up this to also use this as a futuristic technology which we need to develop capacity for in this country, and hence the signing of the MoU with the Maritime Research Center to run the third vertical. So these are the three verticals that the Indo-Swiss Center would be addressing, and we hope that we make some dent or some contribution to our country's requirement of skilled people as we go on forward, and serve our nation to the best capacity that we can. I have two gentlemen who were invited but who could not make it and who told us that because they were otherwise not in town. One is Dr. Vijay Kelkar, Padma Vibhushan. He sent me this message that, Dear Mukesh, I congratulate you and the Indo-Swiss Center of Excellence Pune for taking this wonderful initiative to undertake underwater domain studies. Although this issue has been of strategic importance to our country's national security as well as energy security, it has so far been totally neglected. I am sure your initiative will take us a long way in meeting these strategic needs for the nation. My best wishes, Vijay Kelkar. He was, as you know, the former Secretary, Ministry of Petroleum, and he is very much aware of how important underwater studies are given the amount of petroleum reserves that we have offshore. He was also the Finance Secretary. I'm sure all of you have heard of Ambassador Gautam Bambavle, who was ambassador to Pakistan and to China. He was also supposed to be here with us because to give us a kind of a feel of how important underwater studies are from the diplomatic and external affairs angle. So he says that I'm delighted to learn that the Indo-Swiss Center of Excellence has decided to cooperate with the MRC to encourage studies on underwater domain awareness. I congratulate both organizations on this occasion. It will give a fillip and encourage further research on underwater studies. India is a maritime nation. We have several thousand kilometers of coastline. We have had many generations of seafarers and Navy personnel. The Indian Ocean is named after our country due to our dominating position vis-a-vis the waters of that ocean. However, of late there have been threats from the sea. The Mumbai terrorist attacks of 26/11 were done from the sea. One of our northern neighbors is rapidly ramping up the size of her navy. India needs to be prepared for such eventualities. Therefore, we need to step up research on underwater studies and enhance our underwater domain awareness. Today's MoU will help accomplish this goal. I congratulate the MRC as well as the ISCEP on this important occasion and wish them the very best for future endeavors. Gautam Bambavle, former Indian Ambassador to China and Bhutan and Indian High Commissioner to Pakistan. So, the importance of these studies, I think everyone understands, and even those who don't are able to understand once they're given a few examples, and it needs no gainsaying that what we are doing is rather of national importance, and we do hope to be able to make this successful. I'm looking forward to collaboration and cooperation from the Maratha Chamber of Commerce in order to help us achieve some credibility, because our next step is to create a sector skill council in the sector of underwater studies, which the MCCI has very kindly, agreed to host in terms of, presenting it to the government under the banner of the MCCI, so that it has better credibility and we get the Sector 6 Council set up as soon as possible. So thank you very much, Deepak, for your cooperation and positive response. And thank you very much, everybody here, for being here this evening and for helping us to go ahead in the best possible manner. Thank you. Jai Hind. All the best.
Thank you, Malhotra sir. I'll take precisely 10 minutes. I'll not take more than that. That's my promise. The underwater domain awareness framework that we have been working on is basically to pool in resources and synergize effort across stakeholders. Many people think that the underwater domain awareness is only related to maritime security, but I would like to convince you that it is far, far more than that. So if we just look at the new global order, the entire global attention is now in the tropical waters. There was a time in the last century where it was in the Atlantic and the temperate waters, but today everything is happening in the Indian Ocean or in the tropical waters. And what I want to stress here is that these waters are different. The technologies of the past are not relevant in this. And many times we have been importing technology and we have not been able to get the results that we desire. Now, Indo-Pacific strategic space is so often used. I mean, just a few days back, the American National Strategy also came out and they have talked about partnership with India in the Indian Ocean, in the Indo-Pacific. And they have also flagged the capacity gap, I mean, what Mukesh sir mentioned. And I think India is well placed to fill up this gap. And I think we are uniquely placed in that. I mean, both the demographic advantage or so-called advantage that we have and plus the capacity that we have. It is just that we need to channelize it in the right way. And that is what will be the attempt going forward. Now, again, India's position, and I'm showing this with a particular thing of already the leadership in the country is very much aligned and they are aware of it. Prime Minister has talked about the SAGAR vision, which talks about both security and growth. So India's leadership position in the region, I don't think needs to be discussed. So, but how do we present our leadership role? It is only with a higher capacity and if we can export capacity. And I think even the Sector Skill Council or the Skill Corporation is trying to export, I mean, build up in a manner that we are able to generate first world-class skilling capacity in this country and then be able to export it to the region. Now, these are some of the initiatives. Sagar vision, geopolitically now, our position is very different. I don't need to discuss that. Internally, there are so many mega projects, whether you call it Sagarmala, which is about 6 lakh crore and the kind of manpower that is required, we are still hoping that we will get this from outside. The inland water transport, 20,000 kilometers of waterway and the whole associated economic ecosystem that will come up along with that. Then there are so many more, I mean, even Gati Shakti, which is being announced. I mean, the whole logistic thing. There is so much more that the underwater domain is going to be. I mean, these waterways, how will you keep them navigable is another big thing. So the skilling initiatives have to be at a very different level. And of course, the new education policy today even merges the whole knowledge and the skilling. Earlier, UGC and the skilling were totally two different entities. Now they are looking at merging this. So today, I think the conducive environment has come. I mean, we have already got approval for our courses from AICT. And today we know this country is very degree hungry. I mean, whatever you do, you want a degree for that. So today, I mean, we reached out to the authorities, both on the the degree programs under the AICT and also the Pradhan Mantri Kaushal Vikas Yojana, we have approvals. So if whatever we start here in this center, I mean, along with the certificate of skilling, you can also, at some point, we can also give them a degree which is recognized by the AICT. Going forward, now I want to tell you today, the water resource, today we are already 20% short, fresh water. And if we continue the way we are going in next 10 years, we'll be almost 80% short. I mean, that's the kind of situation we are in. I mean, you can see this map, only the Northeast is, I mean, even your industrial, I mean, now we are talking about the semiconductor thing and these are very highly water consuming industries. So where do you set them up and all those things? I mean, we have to have a good understanding of this whole thing and how do we utilize the resources properly. The second is the water quality. Even the water that is available to us, the quality itself is, I mean, the biological and chemical contamination is of a very different level. So again, here underwater domain awareness becomes very, very important. I mean, we are talking about the digital transformation where, you know, sitting in your office, you should be able to get a real-time appreciation of, like today when you go home and open the tap, do you know what the quality of water is? And if you look at the availability of technology or the know-how, it's very easy to do. It's just that nobody has focused there. I mean, I was in Singapore, we have, our lab itself has developed so many things. And these are not very high cost. These are very, very doable. Now, when we talk about maritime domain awareness, after the 9/11 and the 26/11, the entire MDA concept got too much driven by the security establishment, which obviously resulted in limited participation by the other stakeholders. So this is something we need to correct. I mean, so when I say underwater domain awareness, we even have created a Wikipedia page to say, I resist the temptation to say that UDA is a underwater appendage of the conventional MDA that is being followed. This is far beyond. Next, please. I mean, there are these 4 stakeholders. Go to the next. I mean, security, of course. I mean, to know what the Chinese submarine is doing in our water, to be able to, now we have a strategic submarine, how we can deploy it properly. We had the 9/11 incident. Do we expect the next guy will also come by a surface boat? There is so much underwater robotics available today. I mean, even college students are building AUVs. So what is our preparedness for an eventuality like that? And of course, migration is a big thing which is going to, I mean, Rohingya thing is just a tip of the iceberg. I mean, if you look at it, our East Coast is going to be absolutely unmanageable. So we need to have systems where we need to have early warnings so, to kind of handle such a thing. Then blue economy, I mean, fishing, since 1996, the global fish stock is on the decline on one end. The mechanized trawling on the other end, the bycatch is 80%. I mean, the big trawls, whatever they can pick up, we throw 80% back into the sea. Because we are only looking for specific species. And this trawl will, 100, 200 tons of fish it picks up in one. So what we throw out, the bycatch is 80%. So how will you regulate this? Again, underwater domain awareness is required. And today there are much more, I mean, in the underwater domain, regulatory framework is much easier than the monitoring mechanism. On land, it's easier to monitor, but in the underwater domain, how will you monitor it? How will you implement the regulatory framework? And of course, we are talking about, go back, we are talking about the deep sea mining. Now, there is so much allocation of funds, but the capacity building is so much deficit. Now, thankfully, the Ministry of Earth Sciences, who's driving the blue economy, they have signed an MoU with us. But still, we have to scale up at a very different level. I mean, the kind of ambitious project or ambitious project that the government is looking at, the capacity building is, I mean, a long way to go. Next, please. And also, sustainability becomes a very important thing. Now, with so much of development, with so much of thing happening, but the acoustic habitat degradation, I mean, now we are, everybody is now aware that sound is the only signal that propagates underwater. Having said that, with all these activity, the noise is going up, and we are happy to inform this audience that in 2019, we won a Global Innovation Challenge in France. After that, our paper was sent by Government of India to the International Maritime Organization. Based on that paper, just a month back, the International Maritime Organization has asked the Government of India to be a lead nation in underwater noise. So now we get big opportunity at the global scale. So this is becoming very big. I mean, the European Union have already come up with the strategic framework document where our ships have to have a pollution certificate that your noise is not beyond a certain level. So that's also a huge business opportunity. I mean, since I'm talking in a chamber, I mean, when I get a vehicle outside from a showroom, you have to pay, get the PUC certificate. So you pay, say, 100 rupees, 200 rupees. I'm talking about 5 lakhs per ship. If that being said, at least lakh ships enter the Indian waters in 15 days. So just the numbers, the market size and what the opportunity is, unbelievable. So even if you give 1 lakh rupees to the government as a regulator, still there's such a big thing which is available, and that will motivate the government. So there's a lot more to be done. And even disaster management. Now so many disasters are originating from the sea. I'm not here to say that we can prevent, but with early warning, we can definitely minimize the loss of life and property. Lot more work to be done. I was in Japan after the tsunami there. the kind of systems they have in place, they could even shut down a nuclear plant. Otherwise, you can imagine the disaster. And we are now, in India, we are talking about so many nuclear plants on the coast because there are certain advantages. But if a disaster strikes, then what are you left with? Next, please. Then, of course, science and technology. I mean, we have very little understanding of the ecosystem. We are in the tropical region. The biodiversity is very, very high. What is our understanding? If we have to navigate sustainability, how will we navigate if you do not understand what is there? So again, underwater domain awareness becomes extremely important. And how to make it happen? I mean, we've been talking about digital India, but do we talk about digital ocean? I mean, we have to kind of look at the underwater in a much different way. The digital India on the land has taken us at least 30 years. People who follow this know, I mean, big giants have entered the Indian space 30 years back to start the process. And that is very dangerous because the data is with somebody else. I mean, Google's and all of them had started 30 years back on the digital India thing. So if we are doing digital ocean, then we need to look at it very differently. And not just ocean, we are talking about the river system. Do we know Khadakwasta Lake is 50% silted? How do we manage that? Next. So this is the framework that we have developed, and this is our work, and this is, I think it has found favors at multiple places. If you look at the 4 stakeholders, they represent the 4 sides of the cube. But the core is the acoustic capacity and capability building. Just to give you a number, the tropical waters, I mean, in the Navy, I can tell you, we bought sonars from Russia. There it was tested. We got in the temperate water, 32 nautical miles as the range. The same ships comes to India, we get 6 nautical miles at the range. So whatever you do, whether you for deploying a sonar for blue economy or for environmental monitoring, forget the surveillance for the Navy part. If you do not get the ranges, and we even try to get the deployment framework also. So how will you navigate? And many people don't understand acoustics at all. I mean, I know a lot of environmentalists who have been using sonars, but they don't even know that the sonar is not giving you that range. So there is a lot more capacity building required. So if you look at it from the other side, the bottom up, I mean, that was the horizontal construct. If you look at the vertical construct, we need to first understand our conditions. So a lot of sensing, analysis, and then the regulatory framework or the policy. And there are so many things in the maritime or many places over-regulated, and many things are just not regulated at all, or there is no policy. So this actually gives you a structured approach for the policymakers also. And even say you want to allocate priority by allocating fund for research, or you want to allocate fund for certain things, you can actually start coloring this cube and say, oh, this is done, and you do there. So what are the things to be done? Different sections can be looked at by different, I mean, there are 17 government ministries and agencies, regulators who handle the maritime. So how to get them all together is a big challenge. And that's why, sir, we are talking about the Sector Skill Council for this. There are 35 Sector Skill Councils. Next, please. So we have just broken down into many things. I mean, say underwater noise, as we have now reached a certain recognition. So you see, it is required for the Navy. So the capacity building is required for the Navy also. I've been involved in that program for a very long time. Then acoustic habitat degradation. Now, when IMO thrust this on you, if you are not prepared, again, our industry will, I mean, the shipping industry was opposing my thing. It took me 1.5 years, in spite of having the blessings from the DG Shipping and the minister. It took me 1.5 years to convince the shipping industry that this is going to be helpful for you. The Marine Strategic Framework, European Union will not allow our ships to enter. If you do not get prepared now, how will you, but it was so difficult to even explain to them. I mean, they said one more regulation and, a lot more expenses or whatever. So we need to understand. But the capacity building doesn't have to be done separately. People can come together. And then obviously ship builders, and we want to be a big maritime nation. So all these things are very important. If you don't make world-class ships, nobody will take us seriously. Next, please. So similarly, now we talked about this. Sagarmala is 6 lakh crore, inland water transport 10 lakh crore, so much money. But do we have the capacity, even water resource management? Khadakwasta is 50% silted, means in the dry season, 50% capacity is less. And in the monsoon, flooding in the downplain. So we actually are beaten on both the sides. So if we just desilt, it's not so simple. Desilting is not so simple. As Mukesh sir said, somebody said it's very good for farming, farmers ko de denge. Who can pick it up from the lake and give it to them? Can the farmer afford that logistic cost? And even to build it up, you need to really do it. So there's a lot more one can discuss on this. And this is what pooling of resources and synergizing of effort, everybody can come together. Next, please. So this is already there are schemes of the government which just needs to be kind of put in place. Make in India, Skill India, Startup India, Digital India, and those are the things. So you can actually provide policy intervention, technology intervention, and capacity building. And so many stakeholders benefit out of that. I mean, inland water transport requires a huge manpower to run it, but they don't have the right framework or the right capacity building mechanism. So this can be a really good thing. Next, please. So the knowledge and skilling ecosystem, it requires, next please, acoustic survey. I mean, anything you want to do, right from your hydrographic surveys to underwater search and recovery to sediment management to environmental impact assessment, acoustic survey is the key. And there is not a single institute in this country where this is even taught. Dredging solutions. I mean, we think JNPT has become unviable because we think dredging is the solution for removing. We are tropical waters. The Nordic countries are totally different. The rate of siltation is so high, the projects have become unviable. 150 crores annually is the dredging cost. It's become unviable. So undersea mining, again, unless you do an underwater survey or acoustic survey, I mean, if you just start fleshing out, it will be maybe 1,000 industries which will come out of this. Next, please. Again, biotechnology and bioscience. So much, I mean, so much can be done. Bioenergy, pharma, food, industrial production, various things. I mean, biosimulation. These are three verticals we would run under this: acoustic survey, biotechnology and biosciences. Next, please. And AI and robotics. When so much digital data, without this, you just can't do it. And since tropical waters are different, a lot of modeling and simulation will be required. So across the board, we will require, and we are very good at all this, but just that you need domain understanding and channelizing. Next, please. So we have basically categorized into 5 steps: technicians to operate, repair, and maintain the equipment, or even for biosciences, biotechnology, collecting samples and whatever instrumentation comes with that, data logger or sample handling, deployment, because it's not simple to deploy things in the water body. And then, so first 3 would be at a diploma level, and then data and sample analysis and research will be at a little higher level. I mean, postgraduate kind of a thing. Next, please. And qualification, we have said. So we will actually be touching across the spectrum, the whole lot. Next, please. So we've been doing a lot of sensitization. These are some of the programs: 6 weeks program, 8 weeks program. We've had more than 100 IIT students coming and working with us, internships and all that. Even other, BITS Pilani about 200 and other colleges about 400 in the last 5 years. But now with this, I think we'll scale it up at a very different level. Next. So this is and what we bring to the table is hands-on. I mean, we have taken them, next please. So you can see the people who come and interact with them are at a different level. I mean, former naval chiefs to director of National Institute of Oceanography. So all communities are represented, all the different disciplines are, all functionalities are represented, and the participants get to interact with the top people. Next. So we have done this in Khadakwasta Lake. I mean, 500 square kilometer of area and 3 meters of soft silt. Can you remove it even by trucks? So there are very simple solutions. I mean, you can actually, we're a developing country, we can put a brick making plant. Even the dredging cost from a hydraulic suction to a hardcore dredger is more than 20 times. I mean, I think it's still a conservative figure. So a hydraulic suction machine can suck it out and put a brick making plant which will produce 20,000 bricks in a day. So the government actually should be earning money rather than spending money. I think 900 crores were allocated for this kind of work. So, I mean, a bit of scientific study. So if you do the entire thing, I mean, we've done for half of the lake, it is soft silt. So you can plan the whole thing. I mean, this came to me because somebody in CWPRS wanted to do the budgeting for this. So we did a study and we saw this. Next, please. So we have hired equipment. So that will be the key point of this center, that field work. I mean, people will not be doing everything in the classroom. We'll be taking them out, and it's a very, the ecosystem if you build up. I mean, when I did this study, I did half of it from my own pocket, but everybody came and said, we'll not charge you money. I mean, NDA gave us the boats, the company, the GM came and said, hey, who's this guy doing such things? So he said, we'll not charge you. So that is the kind of work we can do. And there are a lot of equipments available with government agencies which can be actually drawn into such an initiative. Next, please. And this was part of a PhD work also, that my student took 2 years to do the modeling for the Khadakwasta. And these are the different instruments that were deployed. Next, please. So we even did coring and we realized that even for a core, it was not coming out. The core was not able to hold, it is so soft. So how will you remove it with a dredger? Next. So we've been interacting, I've been interacting with the Sri Lanka because I just wanted these. So all these nations will require, if India, we have a capacity gap, then this will be such a good opportunity to reach out to countries in the region. Next, please. So we signed an MoU with the Pathfinder Foundation for Sri Lanka, many such things. Then the Water Resource Minister, also we briefed him and he encouraged us to take things forward. The Honorable Minister for Northeastern region, and he's also the Culture Minister, because the underwater archaeology is another big area. We have, there's a MoSAM program of the government, so we want to reach out to them. Of course, we have done a capacity building report for the Niti Aayog on this underwater thing, how all the stakeholders can come together. And now they are kind of circulating it to various ministries, but it takes a while, I know, but we are definitely at it. Then we have briefed the Honorable Science and Technology Minister and PMO Minister. He has written a nice letter to us. Even Prabhu was kind enough to inform the Shipping Minister also, and we are discussing, we have been evaluated by all the top ministries also. So at least they have said, but it didn't go to the next level because the word underwater is not there in that mandate. So it will take a while for this word to first figure and then it will go to the next level. So you can see, I mean, skill development in the maritime sector, we are now at least talking to the right people. But now with this center, I think we will, and thank you to the Maratha Chamber, I think we will be able to take it to the next level. Next, please. So the way ahead, my last slide, setting up of a core advisory committee, we are working on it. General Shakatkar sir has been very kind, Admiral Verma sir is here, and we are taking some key people from the right domain. And we are setting up this advisory committee, maybe by end of this month it will be done. Building up the infrastructure, we are working on various things. We are having this model of picking up things from the industry, I mean, from the ecosystem, right? Rather than buying all this equipment, we have identified certain things. So we'll not set up a lot of things in the beginning. And setting up of a sector skill council, thank you, sir. Just before this meeting, we had the blessings. So the in principle approval has been given. So the mechanism is being worked out. A structured capacity building and a capability building program, because we don't want to just do an open kind of a thing. We want to engage with the stakeholder like marine police, inland water transport. I mean, at least I think there are 100 different areas. I mean, even those maritime boards are there. So everybody, we want to have a engagement with them so that there's a structured kind of a relation and we take it forward. To do a big announcement, we are planning a 5-day high-level outreach event in February. All the 5 days will be dedicated to a particular function, like security one, diplomacy one, capacity building one, and we'll invite the key people and make sure the science and technology one day. So all the 5 days will be planned in a way that we are able to, and also all the stakeholders will be there so that they understand the various things, because everybody misunderstands UDA. They think only the security part. And of course, we are also, thanks to the Maratha Chamber, we want to reach out to the Indo-Pacific region. We want to host all the emissaries, maritime emissaries of the Indo-Pacific region, and host an event, maybe 2-day event in the chamber, under the chamber's auspices, so that we are able to, because Pune itself, I mean, Verma sir is here, the whole nuclear submarine project, so many industries have contributed to our requirement, which many people don't know. So I think Pune can become a hub for even exporting these kind of things. Apart from skilling, you know, it comes with a whole package. I mean, that's what we want to say. Thank you. So going forward, I would request comments from the dignitaries who are here. Deepak sir, probably we can start with you.
Dr. Arnabji, I could see the dedication, and what more does an institute like yours require? Such great work, and I'm sure you will take it to the next level. And simultaneously, I'm an O1 because I don't know this. I don't know this subject at all. So ignorance is bliss. And as you said to me, Chamber will wholeheartedly support this for whatever you're most welcome. The Chamber umbrella is available, and we will do everything within our means to support this initiative. I'm sure, as we discussed, you will work out all the details with the DG, and we will help, because that is what we are supposed to be doing. small words, don't shabda mantar. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. I think we've come a long way, sir. Deepak sir, I made a presentation to you in 2014 in Pimpri Chinchwad, and I think we've come a long way, sir. Thank you so much for your kind words.
So that's what brought me here.
Thank you, sir. Vandana ma'am, can we have few words from you?
We have experts here around the table, so really not much to say. But first of all, congratulations to Mukesh for having taken up this initiative through his foundation. And I have met Arnabji several times, and as you rightly said, the kind of passion and dedication he has for this cause has been amazing. And it's really very heartening for me to see that today Arnabji's efforts have borne fruit through the Indo-Swiss Center for Excellence. As a parliamentarian in the Rajya Sabha, I have just 1.5 years left for this second term. So if there's anything that I can do to voice the concerns, because there are several issues which you have just mentioned, that underwater domain just doesn't exist in the vocabulary of the government as yet. So if that has to be done, we have several interventions, several tools on which you can ask questions, make interventions, make 0-hour interventions in the parliament. So if you can give me something which really would voice this concern and bring more visibility, not just for the ministry concerned, but also amongst the parliamentarians, I think that would be very worthwhile, because there are several parliamentarians who represent cities or areas along the coastline. And I'm sure they would like to take initiatives in doing something on that behalf. We also have a team of parliamentarians which works on climate change. So basically, I think that again brings us together, because just recently we passed a bill on Antarctica. And Shekatkarji, Vermaji, I was really surprised to see how is it that the Indian Parliament passes a bill on Antarctica. So it was amazing to see that good old days when Indiraji was the Prime Minister. We actually have a presence at the Antarctica. 2 stations. One has gone under the snow, but under the glacier, but 2 are still existing. And basically, it was something to do with oceans and our presence there in Antarctica. So those are the kind of issues which are deliberated in the Parliament. So even something like this, if I could voice and bring more visibility, I'll be more than happy to do it. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, ma'am. I think many of you don't know, ma'am is at a very top global committee on climate change and environment, not just in the Indian Parliament, far beyond. So, ma'am, definitely I would come and like to brief you, because we have been doing a lot of work, but probably it needs a little more guidance on to reaching at the right door. But I'll come and brief you, and today there was not much of time. So the environmental aspect itself is very, very big. So we will talk about it and take it forward. Thank you so much, ma'am.
I'd just like to add something. Since a member of parliament brought it up, I'd like to say that Pune is really blessed, because Pune is a city on the water at the confluence of 2 rivers, and the Mula Muta has been included as one of the national waterways. Out of the 116 waterways, the Mula Muta has been included. And the second thing I want to bring is that we have 4 dams upstream. Pune and the PCMC get their waters, and these dams are more than 100 years old, all silted. So there's a great opportunity there. And the third thing it's been mandated by law that the water quality index, like we have the air quality index, the water quality index has to be measured and announced to the public. Let Pune take the first initiative to announce the water quality index. That would be a great initiative if Pune can take the lead and the chamber can take the lead. Thank you. I submit these for your consideration. Thank you.
Thank you, Prafulji. Prafulji has been with me right from the beginning when MRC started. Thank you, Prafulji. Last 2 words from Admiral Verma sir and then General Shekatkar.
Well, Arnab is an old friend of mine, young, but known him for a long time. And we worked together in the Navy, and I had the opportunity to use him for some of my projects which he did exceedingly well. When MRC started, and I remember the first paper on UDA, which was written jointly. Actually, it was written by him. He put my name there. So, you know, like how normally professors do. So, I always told him the idea is great. How are we going to sell it? You know, the whole issue is how are we going to sensitize the people. And, without my assistance, he managed to sell it so well. There's a booklet, I think, which he's given to everybody, where he is actually covered the whole globe. He's represented the underwater domain, not only in the Indian sphere, but within the country is very important. What we need to do, because as journalists, you know, we like to think big, which is good. But when you start working, we have to make the first impression. Like the first lot of skills that we pick up should be the skills that has the maximum visibility. So that, you know, then the center starts growing. But if we go for skills which are very, you know, specialist and things like that, the number of people will be few. You won't get the visibility. So we should skill the people. We require skill at all levels. Can we do all of them at the same time? We have to be, you know, we have to look at it. At the same time, the skills that we should choose should have maximum visibility, which means can be used in several places at the same time. So we have, I'm an electrical officer, like very much like thing. Every time, you know, the commanding officer on board wants to make a thing, that's the time the mic goes. So the only thing we hear is command rail bridge. That means I have to come running and tell him why it's not working. Even I don't know, because I've just run and come. So that seems to be happening here.
So, as I was saying, that we need to look at what we can eat, you know, what we can chew rather, and what gives us maximum visibility. I believe, and I agree with thing. Let's not attack the strategic sector first. Let's attack the blue economy, you know, lakes, inland water transport and all, because your results will be much faster. Having said that, as far as the technology part is concerned, when we're looking at, yes, we should build skills for the security requirement, because as he said, Pune has got fantastic industries, and as people don't know, in my last program, in the nuclear submarine program which I always tell people, there's only one public sector undertaking. Major private sectors, but what we forget is almost 250 SMEs have contributed to it, out of which more than 150 are based in and around Pune, you know, Nagar and, you know, all these places. So that's the thing, because we have that strength. We have the strength. He was talking about sensors, etc. Can we make the sensors? Yes, why not? We have. Of course, it's not from Pune, it is in Kerala, where we found the thing. But there's a lot of electronics is done, because and of course engineering. These two are major fields in Pune where we've been able to get it done. But as a country, we can definitely get everything done in this country. I am convinced, because I've seen it happen, and we can get it done. And it's not a major thing, especially when we are looking at things for blue economy or robotics or IoT, you know, Internet of Things, etc. We are already doing it. I know about firms who are working in IoT in Pune and doing global work. So it's possible. We will get all of these chaps, right? We can get them, find out what skills they are looking for, and then start looking at those skills. So I'm confident that with the assistance of everybody, we should be able to think. And as I said, visibility at the shortest time will multiply there'll be a multiplier effect. Otherwise, underwater, so everybody goes underwater. So that's what we should avoid. Right? Thank you, Arnab.
So,
so much.
May I? If you do not find facilities in certain verticals that you would want to have, get back to us, we will give you the sources. We have an entire list of such sources.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you. Thank you. General Shekatkar, sir, please.
Having heard the galaxy of people on this very important topic, I don't think there is much for me to say. पण जसं सरांनी म्हटलं 2 शब्द आणि 2 मिनटं महाराष्ट्रामध्ये फार घातक होतात. क्या 2च्या पुढे किती शून्य लावतील it depends where he studied the arithmetics, you know. So I will be very brief and to the point. We know Commander Das, Mr. Malhotra has taken initiative. He mentioned, I start from here, about the technological development. In last about 10 years, suddenly our technological import and use has gone up throughout the world. We are probably one of the pioneers. But the problem comes, who will handle the technology? We cannot import the people to handle the technology. So therefore, we have to create the people from within our country to handle the technology. And the technology will not come without cost. We are discussing about last month. To carry out a welding under the water, we have to get the expert from USA. And their charge is $2,000 per day. Just for welding the things. That is the amount of money we have to pay. You can imagine what will happen to us. We have Bombay High, we have petroleum depots, we are coming up. We got atomic centers, we are coming up all over the places. The entire sea coast of India is now coming up on that line. And therefore, as very rightly Gautam Bambawale mentioned, our threats are going to come from sea. They are going to come from sea. They are already coming, but we don't realize. We are the Honorable Member of Parliament. Maximum number of people in Parliament are from the states which are miles and miles and miles away from sea. So when you talk to them, they say, यार ज़मीन की बात करो, तुम क्या समुंदर की बात करते हो? क्या करना है हमको? हमको वोट थोड़ी देता है समुंदर. We tell them कि look, समुंदर आपको वोट नहीं देता है. I have discussed with them as part of the chairman of the committee. I had to discuss with these people. समुंदर आपको वोट नहीं देगा, पर समुंदर आपको वोट खरीदने की ताकत देता है. That money which you get, it coming from all the coastal belt of India. The coastal states of India, ladies and gentlemen, is producing 73% of GDP of India. Right from Gujarat up to Bengal. They produce. And the rest of the country, of course, we can't say they are eating our thing, but they are spending on them. We are spending on them. So in time to come, the seashore, the underwater domain, the oceans are getting more and more and more important. If you see today, throughout the world, there are 68 nations in a conflict state. Ukraine, Russian war, Armenia, Azerbaijan, all these people, why are they? They want to have control on sea. They want to have the control on pipelines which are passing through the sea. They want to have control on the internet connections which are passing through sea. Who will operate those people? And they are in the war fighting on this. Why? Just to control the seashore. Ukraine is almost divided now today. This example is going on today. And we will not remain untouched. I keep on discussing with him sometimes, Dr. Bambawale and others also, on the India's strategic perceptions, since I was the chairman of that committee. We have taken into account the threats which will emerge to India by 2035. By 2035, as we are talking of underwater sea, we have to talk of, or we have to discuss, or take into consideration space. If something goes wrong in the space, the entire shipping industry will come to a grinding halt. If something goes wrong into the space, even for half an hour, there are 10,000 aircrafts flying all over the world. 10,000. And if even 1,000 meet with accident because there is no navigational system, you can imagine what will happen. If the satellites stop working for just 5 minutes, our entire mobile system will come to a grinding halt. Now, these are the dangers coming up now. As the technology is developing, as the new technology emerging, the new threats to the nation is also emerging. And therefore, I congratulate Shri Malhotra ji that he is thinking on these lines. We train our youngsters, we train our people on that line. And it is required. On this underwater domain, for example, I will not name them because we have done some study and they are top secret. We have tremendous amount of mineral potential in the economic zone, EEZ, and Indian Ocean. Even the Chinese are carrying out the survey as to what is lying under the bed. Assuming tomorrow we discover gold about 40 kilometers away from Bombay, assuming, how do you bring it up? How do you get it to shore? How you take it to a gold refinery? And how do you convert that ore into the gold which can be put in the hand? Now, these are the problems coming up. There are tremendous amount of petroleum depot. The strategic reserves of India are all along the sea coast. The rare earth, which we call them, and the world is working. Sir will know it better because he's an expert on that. I am his student. The nations are going to fight on that issue. Look at our Kerala. My God, the amount of rare earth deposits it has along the sea coast, unbelievable. Unbelievable. And that will hold the key for our, this is where I would request you, sir, Chamber of Commerce also should start thinking on these lines. Not of today, but maybe 10 years, 15 years hence, what can happen. And those who are depending on you, this knowledge can be percolated down to them. That is my request to you for your consideration. Next is the river project we mentioned. We know what the Chinese game plans are going to be against India by using Brahmaputra, by using those rivers which are flowing from Tibet into India, passing through India and Bangladesh. We know it, what they want to do it. Apart from diverting the water of the entire river Brahmaputra, because they are afraid by 2035 there will be a severe drought in China. There will be no water. And Chinese are rice-eating people. If you don't cultivate rice, how will you feed? Today itself, there is a problem in China, big problem. We know it, for example. We know it for certain. There is a lockdown, there everything is going on. There is no food to distribute. And food production requires water. And that water cannot be contaminated water. It has to be agriculturally used water. And that's why very rightly they say Indian Chamber of Commerce, of Trade, Industry and Agriculture. There's a purpose behind it, why this word has been put into that. So these are the issues we will be taking up in due course of time. The last 2 points are in the cards. We only talk of Ganga or we talk of Brahmaputra. There are a number of rivers. You know the reason why there was a flood last month in Pakistan? The entire Sindh and Balochistan was in trouble. There was a problem in China. Where the Indus comes into India, there was a problem there. And suddenly the water level was released. And that created the problem here. Tomorrow, assuming similar technology is used by China, what will happen to Northeast? What will happen to Assam? We have to think on these lines. We have to think on these lines. And that is where I think the Research Foundation should take into account, apart from the conventional threats which we know will come from Pakistan or China, there are other type of threats which are coming from across the world. And we must, I would say, prepare our young generation. I may not be there tomorrow, but somebody will be there. And their future must not be put into the dangerous place. And that is where the parliament come into play. Madam, I request you kindly, among your colleagues in the parliament, sometimes these issues could be taken for, maybe for half an hour, because 87.3% member of parliaments, they are coming from away from sea. So they don't realize sea. Once in a while they do it. Even you were there, the Minister of Shipping was a person who had not seen sea. We were briefing him in Delhi. And he was, of course, listening like a Vikramaditya. He was understanding, nodding the head. But I knew that he is not understanding anything about that word. The minister in charge. His only qualification, he was from state of Gujarat. And in the end he said, General, whatever you said, मेरे को कुछ समझ में नहीं आया. I said, thank God नहीं आया. अगर आ गया होता तो मुझे मार के आप भगा देते बाहर. Now these are the issues. I request the galaxy of people sitting here. We owe our responsibility to our young generation also. The chamber, maybe anything of this. Last point is on this issue. As I mentioned, the coastal belt in the Indian Ocean, Hind Mahasagar, probably we are the only nation in the world who has the ocean behind it. Hind Mahasagar. And this is now being changed by Americans to Indo-Pacific region. They are not fools. Americans think at least 30 to 35 years hence what will happen. Indian Ocean is the key for the success of United States of America into East Asia and Indo-Pacific region. That is why they want us. They are offering us that please repair our shipping vessels which are passing through Indian Ocean into India. Now, how do you repair them? How do you maintain them? We need the technology, we need the people who will be coming to Goa or who will be coming to Chennai or some ports which are near the coast. And those ships will be repaired here. So it is not only dealing with our own thing, but the technology of the world which is moving through Indian Ocean, we will be repairing and we will make money. If they can charge $2,000 per day, we can have $200 per day for that boy. He mentioned that the income of these agricultural people have gone up. And you don't require highly technical people, they require the technical competence to work in those conditions where the work has to be done. So I request you, and that is what the reason was when Mr. Parikar was the Raksha Mantri. It is during his time, and I was there, I was heading that committee on the thing. That time we thought that we should start, I'm just sharing with you, it is not for public consumption, the galaxy of people, that this, you normally hear 2+2 dialogue. Both the defense ministers and the foreign minister, say of India, China, India, USA, India, Japan, India, so and so, they are meeting now together. It is no more individually defense minister going or the foreign minister going. Because today, the diplomacy, the defense, the security will all go together. They're all connected to each other now. And therefore, I think what the initiative is being taken now today, I request, Madam, you also, whichever way you can think it is worth applying, we should do it. We should do it. And in case you feel sometimes that we should take certain projects in our hand, projects means the research, maybe the technological development, maybe dissemination of the knowledge, whatever we are earning, to the people, We'll be too happy to do it. And we request your kind consideration, we request your blessings, we request your support in whichever way you think. Even if you tell us to do something, that itself is a big thing for us. It may not have come into our mind कि वो ये ऐसा भी करना चाहिए. वो ऐसा हम तभी करेंगे जब आप बताएंगे ऐसा हो सकता है. So therefore, this is my request. Thank you so much. We are grateful to you for coming here, spending your time, listening to us, and we request your support on that. Thanks a lot. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, sir. I request Prafulji to propose the vote of thanks.
Thank you so much, Mr. Malhotra, for taking this initiative and supporting the Maritime Research Center. We've been around for last 5.5 years, and we worked very closely, Commander Das and myself. And when we started, we were wondering how to go about it. So I said the best way to adopt is to first tap into the Pune ecosystem. And if we can sensitize, Pune is, we are really blessed to be in a city like Pune because we've got people like General Shekatkar here, Admiral Verma, who have been very, very kind, who've guided us, mentored us, and opened so many doors for us in Delhi, where we could reach and get a hearing and be able to sensitize people at the Niti Aayog, at the NSA's office. Sir wrote a paper with Commander Das, General Shekatkar wrote, which went to the NSA's office, and it opened up the doors for working on the Brahmaputra. And Sir has been a very old friend, like he says, of Commander Das. So we've been very, very happy, and we are back to, we come full circle in a way by being able to connect to the chamber. I'm really thankful, sir. We seek your support, and we're very happy that today we have my friend Vandana and our Member of Parliament here with us. And I'm sure she'll take this word and we'll get a lot more support in Delhi. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here today. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.